Hello and welcome to this Build With Me video where I go through making 3 Sarissa MDF buildings. Now this has taken me quite a long time, months indeed. I believe the first clip is from November and as I sit here it is February the year after. However, they have been a lot of fun to build and there's no reason why it took that long rather than just my time and scheduling and laziness and getting distracted. So yeah, they have been a lot of fun to build. They've been pretty easy to build, notwithstanding that time, and a lot of learning has gone into detailing and finishing them off. So I'll stop rambling and I'll go back to very, very historic beard with lots and lots of hair, it being winter plumage time, and you can follow along with this build as we produce these amazing buildings. I started this project before I started the channel, so here are a few photographs of the early stages of construction that I snapped just to show friends and family what I was getting up to. I'm so much better now with the channel because of the videos and there's so much more tracking going on, but you can see I've always liked my clamps. So I'll get back now after this one shot to doing it via video. On this building, the next MDF building, the one that I'm focusing on, I still have quite a lot of plastering to do, so I'm going to finish that off. I have this side wall and then I have this wall here. Now this is going to be a little interesting because I actually have a roof that is going to go on here, which I do want it to be removable, so I will not plaster past there. I will make a decision on that. And then I'm going to work on the pigsty. I have some pigs on order, some scale pigs, and that will have a roof glued on it. So we'll have a pig sticking its head out or something very simple like that. So to the technique which I've shown before with the Polyfila, and over here on my magnet, the palette knife. The next step on this little section of MDF building is going to be to paint the inside. Now my plan is to use standard hobby acrylic white to paint the entire thing white, which will then mean that whatever colour I choose will stand out a little bit more. Yesterday I put the primer, the sealant on the MDF, and that should mean that this paint will now go on a little easier than it would do, whereas normally MDF is very thirsty and the paint that you put on just disappears inside. So I'm just going to very quickly paint this. Should have masked doing that, so you cut corners and you suffer the consequences, but I think that will look okay. I'll probably do another coat on that a bit later on, and then I will be doing my grey dry brush on the outside. I will put a dark wash on the inside and I will pick up what colour I want to do and paint it that way, but I'm sure that I will invite you along when I get to that stage. Now that all of that plastering has gone off, what I'm going to do is take an emery board. This is a normal one that I stole from the missus, I think, and I'm going to file down or sand down the roughness. Now I have had a play before filming this, I admit that, because I wasn't sure how well it was going to work, and it does seem to be working quite well. And to punish myself, I've left the hardest part with the most details to fiddle around with. And what I found works really well is pulling in slowly and steadily in one direction, and it just takes down that unpleasant roughness from the bad application. There you are. With the building all sanded down now, I will be putting the sealant on the inside of all the walls so that then I can paint and do whatever I want to do on the inside. So I'm going to get on with doing that now. Okay, that's done. What I'm now going to do is a little bit more plastering, which I won't put on camera because, as we've established, that doesn't really work very well. But earlier on I did a test fit of the wood store, which goes back here, and I can actually plaster all of this area, which I wasn't totally sure about when I was doing it. Top tip here, check first, because I could have done that really easily last night without having to get everything out again. So that's my next job, and then I think that this will be done for the evening, and I'll be leaving it to go off until I get time tomorrow or the next day to come back to it. But I'm really pleased with how it's coming on. Talking of the wood store, here it is. Now, as you can see on the side, it's designed to have the slat and the plaster, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going back to my trusty chop it, and I'm going to clip up some coffee stirrers and line it with wood. I'm not going to do that on camera because the battery's running out, which was a bit short-sighted, so that's going to go on charge, and I'll be back when it's done. Welcome to my hobby bench. I'm getting back to doing my Sarissa 28mm Sarissa buildings, and so this is an introduction, by way of introduction, back to these for the vlog. This evening I'm going to be fitting the wood store and working on the pig house, because I have received my my model pigs, and I'll probably be working on the roofs a bit, and also I'm going to pick a different building to try a different technique, which I had one running through my head, and we'll see if that works. I do a lot of experimentation, so yeah, this will be coming back onto my bench. I need to get it finished. I'd very much like to get it finished, so yeah, let's see how it goes. The next step on this Sarissa MDF building is to enable myself to fit the wood store, which, while I did measure it up when I tried this, actually has ended up not fitting correctly with the plastering that I did. So I'll be coming in with a file, cleaning this up, cleaning the lines down below where the building will fit, and finishing off the edge, the side of the wood, like that. So that's my next task. It's been a bit of a bitty evening, so I haven't put the camera on very much. I have finished off the woodshed and stained it with, I want to say orech, because it's Bulgarian for walnut, so I've stained it with walnut, and that will eventually have some chopped wood stacked in there, and then will be glued on the back. I've also cleaned up the area where that will be fitted, so just got the file out and filed down the gaps, and it fits perfectly now. And what am I going to do now, and I will invite you along for this one, is more of the orech, and I'm going to stain the wood. I've felt a bit uninspired this evening, and I think this will be a good way to finish up. Hello there and welcome to my hobbying bench. The next step for the Sarissa MDF Buildings involves roofs. Now for the other MDF building I did make my own roof using cardboard, actually literally cereal packet, and that worked quite well. But for these I wanted something a bit easier, a bit quicker. It takes some time when you're cutting those up, and so what I did is I put an order in again via Sarissa for their packets of cardboard pre-cut roofs. I've ordered it in 28mm and I've also got the packs which are the same shapes but in 20mm, which is going to be for the smaller buildings, clearly. Now my priority is 28mm, so that's what I'm working on now, and what I would like to do is show you how easy these are to use. I've got just one roof to work on right now, so I will adjust the camera down and we'll show you that. I will not do any more of the roofs on camera. It's a very repetitive process. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all. So let's get that started. These packets come in a little plastic envelope, which is quite easy to get into, and each of the plastic packets has 2 sheets in it. I've already had a play around. I'm learning my lessons and practicing before filming. So what I have here is one of the roofs and some leftover shingles from the other pack, from the other sheet, and I've taken one out already. These are attached and easily removed with a sharp scalpel. They have little cardboard notches that's holding them in place. So as simple as that, and you extract them from the surround. You will need some PVA, some water to clean your brush, a brush, and that's it. A sharp scalpel is the only other tool that you'll need. So I will paint on at the bottom of this roof the PVA. I will then select one of these and stick it on. And what you'll want to be doing is making sure that it is straight, because no one wants wonky shingles. So that's how simple that is. Now we have a little bit of overlap. We have a little bit of an issue here because you can see that the roof is longer than we want it to be. So what I'll do now is with a pencil, I will mark where to cut and I will cut that out. And this is one of the good things with it being cardboard. With a sharp scalpel you don't need to do anything but press and pull, and there it is. And now you have done your first row of shingles. Now making your own shingles isn't a huge issue. I may do a video on it in detail at some other time, but believe me, this is a hell of a lot quicker. Obviously it costs more, but when you're exchanging time, it's worth it. So my practice is to alternate. So I started with a full one at this end on the first row. Now I'm going to put a full one at this end. What you will notice, however, is I've done that too high. And as I say, you want to make sure that you may find that you push them down a bit further than you think initially. There's another good thing with PVA is that you can adjust, you can change your mind and change where you're positioning to make it look right. So there we are. So now I've got a little more cutting to do. This one I'll just cut off at the join, which is very easy. And I'll leave a little gap, which is absolutely fine. I'll cover that over with some flock to look like moss or something like that. There is nothing you can't achieve with a bit of creativity. So there you have it. I can't think of anything else really to say at this stage on this process. It is very easy. I would recommend, if you have a MDF building like this, that you consider looking at some of these kits, or indeed make your own shingles. The real benefit is in how interesting your buildings will look. No one wants to have samey things on the table. Variety is the spice of life. So I'm going to carry on, finish this, and I will see you later on in this build. The next stage for this Sarissa MDF building, which is the one which I've done the wooden cladded little tower section, is to work on the tiles. So I've gathered together all the roofs, as you can see, because I'm also working on roofs. But I think next I'm going to do the courtyard. I'm going to paint it. I've got it sprayed black and masked off, so that makes a lot of sense for me. I also have some really good ideas for the walls, and I want to get to them, so I'm a little bit impatient to get this progressed. So I'll pull the camera down a little closer and let's see what we can do with these tiles. So this is a nice close-up overhead view. I hope that it works out. I have this light grey paint, which you'll have seen a few times. I use this for dry brushing on my stone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try not to ruin this, and you're watching this live. I'm going to use it to paint each stone. Which may or may not work. Which is not going to work. Now, I'm going to not even bother carrying on with this. What you'll remember is I made a mistake here. I stuck the cardboard down shiny side up. And what I'm finding is it's just too shiny to accept paint. So I'll keep this footage as a lesson, and I will think a little more as to what I'm going to do about this. I may end up deciding that it will be a very overgrown courtyard, that you can't really see the stones at all. So I'm going to stop this footage and have a little bit of an explore and play, and I'll come back when I've done some more investigation. Well, that wasn't a very long break. It's only been a couple of minutes. What I have discovered is that while a very wet brush causes a problem on these, if you do an almost over brushy, dry brushy type of technique, it goes on quite nicely. It leaves some stripes, but then I quite like that. It looks almost like it's got texture on the stone. So now I'm happier. I was a little unhappy before, I'm sure you could tell in my tone of voice. But now I think that what we've got here is certainly going to do good, and it's going to be good enough for this project, and it's been a learning experience for me as well. Be really careful that you do glue down shiny side down, or don't use shiny cardboard at all, as much as it's nice to recycle your old cereal boxes. It's not very nice to waste 20 quid on a building like this. It then doesn't work how you want it to. So I have done that. I'm relatively happy with how that's looking. I'm going to leave that to dry now. Step well away while you feel like you're ahead, and I will think about the next step on this build. The next step I'm going to take is going to be to use some of the Sarissa tiles to put onto the roof, which will go on this little wooden section, and also will be on one of the other flat roofs. And I'll probably use this same type of shingling for the other roofs as well, which are here and here. So I have everything to hand. I do go into this in detail in another video, but I'll quickly show now that it is as easy as getting the tiles out of the plastic, and then separating them from the cardboard surround with a sharp knife, just like that. You then separate these two out, again, just like that. And in this case, they're very, very close to being the correct length. Indeed, very close indeed. So what you then do is you start at the bottom edge. I'll have to find out which the bottom edge is on this one. I'm not going to make that mistake. So I know that's the bottom edge. So you start at the bottom edge and you glue them down with white glue, overlayering them very slightly, not too much in this case. These are nice and even. So overlayering them like that, and then I will leave that to dry once I've finished doing that. So I will put some music on and you can watch me shingle this roof. I said it wouldn't be the last time that my memory card filled up, and so it happened. The fire is burning down and I have made a good go. So I've run out now of these shingles. I have another order in, but they look really nice. You can see them there on the flat roofs, all done, ready to be painted up. I will now have to wait probably 2 weeks before I can carry on with this project, because I'll be waiting for Sarissa to deliver the extra roof packs. So something I've learned, you need far more of these than you think you do. So order many packs, because they don't go very far. They're not a very cheap option, but they look a lot better than my homemade one, which you can see here. It works very well for rough cut slates, but not so well for if you're trying to do something that looks like it's actually good quality build. So I will leave that there. I will go and empty my memory card. I'm shooting this on my phone. And I will see you on this build. Well, it may not be 2 weeks because there's other things I can get on with, but certainly the roofs will be delayed quite a long time, which is rather frustrating, but that's life. Next up, I'm going to spray the tiles. You can see here that spray painting these roofs has worked absolutely amazingly. I am over the moon with how they look. I think they look wonderful. With that done, and I'm waiting for the delivery from Sarissa with the rest of the tiles of that type to finish off the roofs, I have another task to do on this. Now I'm going to thank Angela right off the bat here. This was her idea, and she having said it now, I think, well, this is clearly what I need to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the wood cladding down this wall and down this wall. So I have my chop it and I have my coffee stirrers, and I'm going to get to it, but I'm not going to bother filming it because you've seen that enough. Who needs to watch me cutting coffee stirrers anymore? I will come back when I'm done. That is all of the wood cut. That didn't take too long with the chop it, which is a brilliant tool I would recommend you get if you're going to be doing this sort of thing. I just thought I'd film very shortly now to show you how I work out my quantities. I don't guess, and this is a very simple tip, but you may not have thought of it. I will lay these down on the bench next to the area that I'm looking at filling, rather than trying to hold them up and juggling and what have you, which can be quite difficult. This is very easy then to just slot in each one as you have finished, and you end up with exactly the correct quantity of slats for your wall. So now I am going to stick those on. I will be back when I've done that. So that is finished. The panels are now glued on the sides, and this is why I say you can never have too many clamps. I have 10 clamps on this, and I have plenty more should I need to do any more clamping with other projects. This will be left now for a good few hours until tomorrow or the next day to completely go off before I add any stain to it. It's been a couple of days. I've let this dry with all these clamps in place. Now I'm pretty confident that this is going to be ready to be removed. And what I'm going to do is get the stain out, which is the same stain as I used on the upper part of this building, the African teak. And I'm going to put 1 or 2 coats of stain over this cladding. There we are, that's done. I'll put another coat on later. Next up is an annoying little task which I've been putting off but I need to do now. When I plastered this, I neglected to plaster between the door frame here and the door frame here. So I need to put some very small amount of plaster between here, these gaps here, which is going to be quite fiddly, and I'm not going to film because it'll be really annoying to watch. So I've got to do that side, and I also have to do that side. You can see there. So see you on the other side. Wow, I did it, and it wasn't as bad as I was expecting actually. So now I'll let that go off, and I need to decide what colour I'm going to be painting these cardboard elements so that they look like stone, which is going to be an interesting decision for me to make. And also I need to decide if I'm going to leave the doors, which are all the original MDF, or build them up again with coffee stirrers and my own wooden stuff. So, but at least that's now done, and I can move on to the next step without that hanging over me. Next on the 28mm Sarissa build is something completely different. I picked these miniatures up from pendragon.co.uk so that I can put some pigs in the pigsty, and also maybe add some more interest, maybe a couple of goats as well. And I will also make use of some spare horses that I have left over from other SBG miniatures, which I will put into the stables. So what I'm going to do now is pick out which ones of these I'm going to do and start painting them up. I've picked out 2 28mm scale pigs and 3 from the 20mm, so they look like piglets, and also a couple of 28mm ducks. That will be, or geese maybe, that will be what I will be putting in this area. Now the roof will be going on this section permanently. I'm not going to have that removable so that I can then finish above it here. But this is going to have enough space so that a miniature can stand in if need be. I'll probably put a trough underneath this window as well. I don't want to fill it too much. I may change my mind, but that is where I'm looking at the moment. As awesome as these miniatures are, they do come on big pudding bases, which is quite annoying. So what I'm doing is taking my broken pair of snips, beard clippers if you will, and clipping off the base as I have already done on this miniature. That will allow me to sit them into the already prepared area without having to then redo it. If I had this again and had actually purchased these pigs and animals prior to working on the MDF building, I might have been able to get away with leaving most of that pudding base on, but as it is, I do need to clean it up. So I'm going to get back to my clipping and I will show you what they look like when I'm done. I have cut each of the small animals off of their pudding bases apart from the 2 ducks or geese, because I figure I will cut them off when they're painted. And I'm trying a different technique for a painting aid, which is gluing them to this tongue depressor with normal PVA. I don't know if this will work. I have tried it before and I can't remember if it worked before or not, but we shall see, and you will find out just when I do, because we will find out together. I will now leave that all to dry before I will go ahead with priming these. There you have it, the end of part 1 of this build with me. That really does go back to the beginning of this channel, as you can tell from the quality of the audio in the opening sections, and I'm sorry about that, but I have invested in a lapel mic, as you can see, and that has made a big difference to these videos. I feel like it has. And from this point onwards, I think in this build with me, we will be only using footage which has that equipment. So thank you very much for watching. I will be back very soon with the next segment. I don't really want to go much over half an hour on each of these videos. They get a little long then and a little unwieldy. So I'll be back shortly with another in this series. For now, all that's left for me to say is if you're not yet a subscriber, please do click that subscribe button. It's brilliant to see those numbers going up, and they climb much higher than I've ever thought they would, so I'm over the moon. And once you have subscribed, don't forget to ding the bell, because then you will be informed whenever one of these videos goes live. And last but very much not least, thank you very much for watching Beard Clipper.